8:39. Welcome back. This is News and Views right here on Salam Media. Someone's just sent in a message saying, I always enjoy listening to Strike. My response to that message is, gee whiz, what a man, what deep insights, alhamdulillah. Sadly, we don't have activists of his caliber any longer. I think I don't want to make a general statement here because that won't be fair, but certain people enter the activism or political sphere simply to gain fame and money to fill their pockets. So that seems to be the name of the game. Right, the time is 8:40 exactly, and we're moving on. Just to let you know what else is coming on the show today. We'll be talking with Inayat Wadi, my colleague. He's going to tell us what he's got lined up for his bumper super packed show tonight right here on Salam Media. He'll be on the show around about 9:50. Also on the show, in response to a listener's request, we're going to be talking to Abdul Qadir Umar. He is an analyst and specialist of politics in the Horn of Africa to talk to us about the history of Ethiopia and the current ongoing conflict. Also on the show, we'll be talking to Faisal Bahardin. He is with an organization and he's going to talk to us about an award received from Travel Mart. He's the winner of the Responsible Tourism Award from World Travel Mart in London. So that is huge. And also on the show, someone I love talking to, but just do not have enough time. We'll see how we do with time this morning, and that will be a discussion with Dr. Tshepo Mvulane Moloi. He's at UJ and is going to talk to us about African Writers' Day. But right now we cross over to Gaza-based journalist and activist Wafa Aludaini. I hope I've got that correct. Wafa Aludaini, to talk about the situation, the ongoing situation, not only in Sheikh Jarrah, but in Palestine as a whole. The atrocities being meted out to the Palestinian people by the foreign occupiers. Wafa, assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program. Wafa, are you there? Okay, we seem to be having a bit of a problem. Let's see what is going on. Let's take an ad break and see if we can try and get hold of Wafa once again. Okay, not sure what's going on right now. It could be Murphy's Law. I spoke about, earlier on, I spoke about the country being in a crisis, a national disaster, with the issue around, obviously, rolling blackouts, and just maybe we're having a rolling blackout someplace, somewhere, and it's impacting on the program. So let's take an ad break before we are joined once again, hopefully with Wafa.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Every 60 seconds, a silent pandemic claims the life of a child. Unsafe water is having a devastating global impact on health and livelihoods. Islamic Relief is at the forefront, providing clean and safe water to vulnerable communities around the world. Our tailored approach to sustainable water solutions enable families not just to survive, but to thrive, ensuring they stay healthy and safe. Give water, give life with Islamic Relief.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
Welcome back. It's exactly 8:45 a.m. and I'm going to be talking to one of my favorite people here on the show, and I'm sure over time he is going to become a favorite person of yours as well. Deep thinker. He is Dr. Tshepo Mvulane Moloi, a postdoctoral research fellow at Johannesburg Institute of Advanced Study, University of Johannesburg, and he's going to talk to us about African Writers' Day. It was on the 7th. I think we're 2 days out of that day, but I should imagine the entire month should be dedicated to African writers for us to truly celebrate our deep history and our stories. So let's get talking with Dr. Tshepo Moloi. Assalamu alaikum to you. Welcome to the program.
Joyous morning to the your listeners. Yes.
So good talking with you this morning, and let's talk about the rich talent we have in Africa, the amazing writers and the amazing stories that we churn out in Africa as a whole. How do we continue, making sure that these stories continue being told, fiction and non-fiction? And what about the Western world? How do we get them to accept our stories and also applaud our writers?
Thank you very much once more for having me on your show. I am really honored.
Always a pleasure.
So to the point of what you're raising, we speak on an occasion where we're coming from a weekend where it was a huge weekend for writers in South Africa and the rest of the continent. This Sunday was an occasion which a lot of writers thoroughly enjoyed because they hosted the 9th Africa Century International African Writers Conference, and that was basically a conference where the Minister of Arts and Culture, Mr. Nathi Mthethwa, and basically the VC of UNISA were the keynote speakers, acknowledging and giving awards to writers, across different categories. And what you are asking me this morning is so important because you've just suggested why not the whole month instead of just the 2 days. It's a pity. Our education system, our education ministry, academia in general, within the context of South Africa and the continent, has priorities totally misplaced. If you listened to the speeches in this conference and you looked at the names of the winners and even those that did not make the short list, you will be shocked at how, and yet you hardly hear these people being acknowledged, celebrated, quoted, the way that you would imagine should be normal. Anyway, what's important, because we don't have much time and I know this, is we need to acknowledge the organizers of such occasions. And here you have to talk about the Right Associates. Here's an organization that starts in the year 2000, and in the year 2005, they officially become the organizers of the Legacy Project for the South African Literary Awards under Mr. Morakabe Rax Sekgoa. along with his partner, Ms. Cindy Swasekgoa, who is manager for both the Africa Century International African Writers Conference and the SALA, the South African Literary Awards. And, they put together these programs to acknowledge writers in South Africa. And they're working in partnership with government. So it's very important to remember that names such as Professor Mazizi Kunene, the South African National Poet Laureate in 2005, who has a museum in Durban, and people are oblivious to such existence. And, we're only learning recently that he's got so many of his manuscripts not yet, available in public, but it's available in the museum.
Okay, Dr. Tshepo, let me ask you this question. This is you've touched on something very, very important. You talk about this museum, and you talk about that people are oblivious of this rich heritage that's theirs for the taking, to go into it, to examine, explore, open their minds, encourage our young kids into the arts and culture, and then to appreciate what a rich tradition of culture and heritage we have here in Africa. It's sorely lacking in South Africa. What is the reason for this? Is it our poor education system? Is it because our children are way too hungry to even think about culture? It's furthest from their mind. Are we too busy striking and protesting? What's going on here? I just, I kind of wonder, can you imagine if we just directed our children on the right path? What an amazing next generation we could have.
That is such a heavyweight question. We're not interested in criticism alone. We're also interested in positive and constructive, criticism. Earlier this year, I wrote 2 articles on the youngest authors in South Africa. And these are 2 young girls who you would like to imagine would have captured the imagination of the public. They have taken every major award you can think of. And I'm talking here about Stacey Fru, and I'm going to forget the other one now, and this is crazy.
Okay, and we are aware of Stacey Fru and her mom, amazing family, and we've had them many a times on our show, over and over again, hoping they will motivate and inspire other young people listening to them.
The other girl is Michelle King. Okay, and it's amazing how, as a public, you would like to imagine we would have these would be like the role models that we are reading about, seeing, and being celebrated. But anyway, their story it reminds me of this year's Nobel Peace Prize laureate for literature, Professor Abdul Razak Guna.
That's right, yes.
For many years, he's been ignored. For many years, his works were not quoted. It had to take the Nobel Peace Prize award for people to speak about him in the same breath as we speak about so many of the accomplished writers.
Is it again because of the issue on race? Because you're Black, you're just not good enough next to your white counterpart? In the 21st century, is it still because we're grappling with those issues, the issues around race? And that is why not more of our voices are being heard globally. That's question number 1. And question number 2, why the lethargy amongst our youth in South Africa regarding arts and culture? And that question is it because social media has overtaken our lives and has distorted our view on arts and culture? So 2 questions which I'd like your responses to.
Okay. So I'm excited to actually say the minister on Sunday announced next year, on the same occasion, the 7th of November, we are going to be having Professor Abdul Razak Guna giving the keynote lecture.
He's Afghani. He's an Afghani national. Am I right?
He's Tanzanian.
Oh, Tanzanian. Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this talks to your question because part of understanding power, and you are now talking race. Is racism a problem? Is it because it's race related? The race question is a really broad question. You can't tackle it with how a lot of people do with emotions. In this instance, we need to actually, use all the resources we can to correct this, abnormal situation. So if media, if we have to go the route of what people know, and in this case, the Nobel Peace Prize, and if we have to, get SABC to get itself in order to reprioritize the things that are important, then, I think that the youth can't be blamed for what is a systematic problem. If you don't have in your system a structure that actually has the youth in mind, we can't therefore blame the youth as an end result. So yes, they also have a responsibility to take interest. They have a responsibility to obviously, find out about the authors that would be relevant to them. In my case, as I've done with Professor Skia Mpashela. But these can't be silos. You can't separate these projects from the everyday realities and challenges, that the youth is confronted with. And so I think that we can actually rediscover, and we can somehow find ourselves in the art and culture space in various ways. I mean, we don't even appreciate the plays that are always being performed in our state theaters.
Yes.
TV, like you say, social media, has overtaken so much of what should be prioritized in the local, and it's a pity. But I think these are challenges that we can always overcome.
Yep, we're living, I think it's the price we pay for living in the instant age where we want instant gratification and everything in the here and now. Sad to say. And if we don't fix it, our children are going to be the losers in terms of heritage and culture. Going forward, in 2 minutes, how did this day, how was it attended in terms of youth? Are we getting the correct messages across to our youth and aspiring writers? What do we do to encourage them? Because I think the other reality as well is that there isn't necessarily enough money or funding for writers. If you want to become a writer full time, there are lots of things to take into consideration. Will I be able to put bread on the table? Who's going to buy my books? Will I make the cut? Who's the publishing house that will understand me and understand my work and understand my reader?
Oh, you are hitting it on the nail. Oh my gosh. You will never be rich being an author. Forget it. And that isn't that sad? Almost all our authors have day jobs. They're either editors of newspapers, they're either doing some background script writing for TV. Basically, they can't be full-time writers. It's not a career that they can say it pays the bill. And this is exactly what I'm talking about. If Department of Sports, Arts and Culture can actually prioritize such gaps, in terms of, our literature space. Artists are the most undermined, undermined people in the country. Look at what's been happening with all the stress that have been happening with the National Arts Council in downtown Fontaine. Look at what's happening in Pretoria. I mean, you have art. I mean, look at what's happening in Soweto at Unda Center. All of our institutions with art, or that stand for the arts, are besieged. The other day we were talking about the Eskia Institute. It's non-existent, So,
yeah.
so all these
Okay,
things-
Dr. Moloi, we are coming to wrap up time. Your final words in encouragement to young people to follow their hearts, follow art, and just get them interested in art and culture. It doesn't matter whether it's writing, but in some form of art. What do we say to our young people?
In closure, there is a topic that was, I think it's phrased quite aptly for what you're asking me to do now. It summarizes the message that our youth needs to have in the following words. Writer's words bring South African stories to life. So it doesn't matter whether you are in the sciences. It doesn't matter whether you're in the humanities. It doesn't matter if you come from a well-off background or if you come from poverty. Your words could open up a vista to people who'd like to learn more about your world, your reality, your ontological experiences. And
Absolutely.
we need to touch each other in that way.
Inshallah, inshallah. And obviously, those words could also change lives for the better. Thank you indeed. Always a pleasure talking to you. And I hope you've noted that we've given you more time on the show today. And it was always lovely talking to you, Dr. Tshepo Moloi, Postdoctoral Research Fellow, Johannesburg Institute of Advanced Study, University of Johannesburg. Talk soon. Have a great day and stay safe.
Alhamdulillah.
Assalamu alaikum. 9:02 exactly. We're going for an ad break, and when we get back, we'll be taking the news, and we will also be talking with Nafisa Saider, compliments of Randry Jewelers. She'll be bringing us the financial updates.
Breaking